Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Too Old to Die Young. Volume 4 is The Tower. So, obviously full spoilers for the episode, as always, as we're talking about it. It's been a week since the last episode went up, review-wise. Apologies for that, that was not intentional. Things have just been very busy. The bizarre upside to it is that now, like, summer has properly arrived. It feels like we're in LA. It feels like we're under the heat.
We're dying, is what we're saying.
It feels like it. I've got a fan blasted in my direction now because otherwise I'd be dying. So yeah, episode 4. What's funny is that multiple people via comments on Twitter now have said to me, "I can't wait for you guys to get to episode 5." Multiple people. So I'm excited. I'm excited about episode 5, but we're here to talk about episode 4. We've not seen episode 5 yet. And I had to go through the episode again. I took a few notes, just scene headers, just to kind of keep me on track with what happened. And I just want to point out though, before I get to anything else, I want to point out my favorite line of the episode, my favorite line of dialogue.
I think I know what this might be.
Seriously, what's going on with the ducks? The ducks are dead.
Very deadpan as well.
Very deadpan. He says as he's walking out the door, he says, "The dogs are dead." Or the ducks are dead. And he just walks out. That really made me laugh for all sorts of reasons. But let's go through it in order. So, opening scene was Janie on the bed, Martin staring at her, and then we view a lot of the scene after that point through a mirror, where he crawls over to her.
Yeah.
You have thoughts on this, maybe?
I do indeed. I think the use of the mirror is interesting. I've not done that at all up to this point. At least I don't recall any of it before this.
No, none before this, but also I think one of the big themes we were talking about is power, and the idea that this may not be real power, this may just be pretend, but certainly he wants her to feel like she has power right now.
Yeah. And reflections are a theme used across a lot of film and TV.
Yeah, and you could say something about it only appearing this way in the reflection. We only ever see this him being on his knees.
It's kind of a bit of an illusion.
Yeah, almost. Yeah. So that was that, and then we have a scene, and he goes and murders. He's got a kill that night, which I noted that I am positive this dude was stuffing stuff because he's just lying in his underwear, and I'm like, that is a chunky bit. Either this dude is like one of the most well hung dudes I've ever seen, or he is stuffing stuff down there.
Well, that was a Pringles can.
It was just this big thing, because it wasn't even like a long shape. It was more just like it was really stuffed, as if it was like really padded.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Refn, like, his direction was just like, no, we need to make his dick look bigger. Let's just shove stuff down those underpants. We need to show it off. But he gets up after watching a movie, and it's Martin. He's there, and as soon as he opens the door, he immediately just shoots him, and that's kind of what gets us into the opening title.
Very casual.
Very casual. He's gotten very used to it. I think there's also something to say. I don't know what movie the guy was watching. I didn't recognize it, but I think there's something to be said again about. And it's kind of more about the next scene, or one of the next scenes that I'm going to talk about, which I think is a big thematic thing for the show in general, but is the idea that this guy is distracted by the frivolous, like, the lights that we use to distract ourselves, in this case entertainment, right? In this case TV. More on that when I get to this scene coming up in a bit, but we get this long scene in a support group, and it seems to be specifically cops or vets who have had to kill people in the line of duty. And we hear this one story from this guy Greg, as the camera does this perfect 360 pan around the entire circle of people. Yeah, and we just hear him talking the whole time. And it reveals our characters, both Martin and Vigo are there. It keeps going around, and he talks about he shot this guy, but he didn't even know there was a girl in the back seat until he saw the dead body, and going on about this. And again, violence has been a big theme in this show, and this all makes sense to include. But
I think it's interesting here that we're dealing with almost the consequence of violence to themselves, right? Before violence has been kind of something. It's been very glorified. It's been, glorified at first, and like, as I said at the start of this episode, kind of just casual. This is kind of the first indication of it showing, having an actual impact.
Yeah, I think even though Martin and Vigo use fake names here, and Vigo, if he's been coming to these groups a lot, might have always been using a fake name.
Yeah,
I do think he does genuinely come to these though, because he does have to deal with this as on top of using it to scout out potential, targets or whatever. Like, because he clearly has been through a lot in the FBI, and he clearly has. I think he is concerned for the way that the way that Martin feels or lack thereof for what he does, and I think this is part of his internship or sorry, apprenticeship is maybe a better phrase.
Because a big part between them was the scene of the diner where Martin asked, "Oh, do you feel anything?" Because he doesn't feel anything at all, and this feels like a way of introducing, like, hey, no, these are the emotions maybe you should be feeling, and maybe hearing it from other people who have kind of gone through it will kind of make him realize that it's okay to have those feelings, and maybe maybe he's subconsciously repressing them rather than just not having them.
Kind of. I think it's I think we have to go to the next scene to really talk about this. But before we get to that, let me just round this one up, where we find out because they talk to the guy who runs the meeting. They don't go with them to the bar, and I did kind of like the joke there, where he's like, "It's not AA. We're not we're not alcoholics." Like, even though it feels it's that type of meeting, that's not what we're here to talk about. And they're like, "No, we've got someplace to be." And Vigo, when they get out, says, like, "Oh, that guy Greg, by the way, has been raping his daughter for years." Which notably, again, it's still a sexual assault case, and still a child. The Vigo seems to be targeting the perpetrators in these types of cases, and he goes up and kills the guy, and it's a gloriously visceral splat against the window when he does.
It is, yeah.
It's very good, very good. But so we have this scene, and I think this is one of the most important scenes we've had so far, which is Vigo and Martin up in the hills looking over the city. And Vigo gives this monologue, this speech, and it's partly why I said I like, as much as I kind of agree with the gist of what you were saying before, I don't think it's so much that he wants Martin to exactly feel everything that these people are feeling and like actually have that empathy, like sort of, or just experience it himself. Because one of the things he talks about here is that, no, you're like me now. You've noticed the way the world is, and you're kind of outside of it. I think in this scene, he's kind of admitting that he's kind of like that too, but he also still manages to have empathy for the people that are in it. Because ultimately, he says at the end, someone has got to protect the innocent, protect the people who are not prepared for this, which is what he sees himself as doing. And he goes on this big speech about the city of lights, they stretch further than the stars now do, and he talks about how, when we started, we had to provide for ourselves, but now the pack provides for everyone, so we've become complacent. And it was something that I was really noticing throughout this episode after this speech, is just how Martin's separate from everyone else, where they get into whatever community activities or distractions, whereas he doesn't. He just kind of observes. He's just an observer in a world that he doesn't fit into.
Yeah.
And that's kind of interesting. So the idea that it is all going to shit again, and that, like, Vigo thinks, there's going to be floods and fires, and like, the civilization is going to collapse because
plague upon us.
Yeah, it's unsustainable. But some of us have to protect the innocent, and that's what he sees himself as doing. So it's a very weird, detached, kind of cold way of doing it, but it is still very much trying to set him on the hero path of no, you have to have a purpose. You have to.
It is, yeah. I think the key difference to them is the empathy that Vigo clearly has. I say he still feels very separate from everyone, but he has an understanding. He has a morality to him that even if he feels separate from everyone else, he still feels connected, at least on some level, enough to want to choose who to protect. Whereas, which is why they take us to the meetings. Well,
I think there's like an odd symmetry here as well, where his one tether to the world is his mother, who we see a couple of times. She kind of wanders out and is with the horse. But we also, I think Janie's kind of the counterpoint to that. Like, the one tether that Martin kind of has, I mean, how strong it is very debatable, but it's the one personal relationship that he really has is Janie.
It is, yeah.
And I do wonder if there's almost an intentional thing here where, you know, in one end it's like the old mother, the old woman who's near death, and then it's the young girl who is barely beginning her life, you know, on opposite ends.
But in both cases, it's the women that ground them and kind of connect them to reality.
But no, that was a fascinating speech, and I think it really sets up a lot of the core things that I was thinking about for the rest of the episode, and probably what I'll be thinking about for the rest of the show is just kind of the various things that he was hitting at here, and how it separates Martin from everyone else. Like, it's very interesting. It's almost like, because I remember when the show was announced, they were talking about how it's kind of an urban samurai tale, and I can kind of see that a bit. Like, I'm almost like, I don't want to say the phrase superheroes, right? It's not that, but there's definitely this thing of
vigilante is very much applicable.
Oh, sure, but I wasn't trying to bog it down like the definition of what they're doing per se, but just I'm talking about more them realizing they're separate and different from everyone else. So I don't think vigilante. I mean, they are technically vigilantes, but I mean more in the way they feel in this, the way that he's discovering that he is not one of them. Like, he is separate from everyone else.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't want to call him a superhero because he's not, but like kind of that feeling of like, okay, I am on the outside of this, but I feel like I can do some good for everyone else, kind of thing. Or he's discovering that he can, and that's kind of his journey in this episode, is that he kind of wants to feel like he is doing something for that's worthwhile. So no, I thought that was very interesting. And then we go to a scene with Vigo, and he's with Diana, Jena Malone's character, because we were just running through the names before the episode started, because we were like, oh, like just remind ourselves, because it's been a week since the last review and whatever. And we got to Diana for Jena Malone. Went, I don't remember Diana. Was that her name last time?
Because I wasn't even looking at the list, so people just go, Martin, Vigo, Diana. I went, who the hell's Diana?
And I think it's because we were just calling her Jena Malone last episode, like the whole time.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he's at her place, and it's very trance-like again, but she's asking, do you trust him? And he says yes, and she says that she sees something special in him, and again, this idea that he's separate and that they are kind of special, like, you know, like
it sounds a bit hokey when you put it like that.
It does sound hokey. I'm actually thinking about more of like a Twin Peaksy kind of thing, like almost like he's
we'll get to the Twin Peaksy things.
Oh, we will. There's definitely other Twin Peaksy things, but just in the way that, like, it's not that so and so characters who are special are like superhero special. It's more just like they have the gift of a different perspective and think about things differently, or whatever it is. But you know, the idea of like, but it was funny though, because it makes me wonder like how he started this, and was Diana there when Vigo started doing his thing? Because it makes her kind of feel like, and forgive this, but kind of like his watcher, and that she recruits new people like him, or at least gets him to recruit the next one.
There was no need to use the word watcher for that. Handler was fine.
No, watcher, just like the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
that was forced and shoehorned in, because the watchers aren't recruiting the slayers like that.
Look, I actively avoided using the phrase chosen ones when talking about how they're different, because I didn't want to overdo it, but you forced my hand.
No. She's a handler. It's very different. She's providing the jobs, giving some, a push in the right direction.
Let's not gloss over the providing the jobs part. She isn't just like getting it from, or maybe she is. Maybe she's like just pretending she's like getting it from the ether. But the way she presents it in this scene is she just kind of like makes him turn over some stones or whatever, and it's like, okay, your next target is this dude, and he's been raping people, and because he's a gym teacher or a coach. He's been raping his kids.
She definitely researched before she went in and went, gonna screw with his head.
I'm going to
have some stones for me.
I'm going to appear to be mystical when really I'm just using my job to like find people. But then again, I don't necessarily get the impression though that would she know, like, unless she's specifically counseling kids who are like telling her like these things and some sort of privacy, like,
which I think she
maybe is.
Might.
Yeah, she might be.
I mean, given the kid from from before.
Yeah.
Martin's first target.
Yeah, very possibly. But just worth mentioning. Or does she still use the stones thing to sort of like decide which next job he'll take? Like, she has several.
Maybe it's one of three.
Yeah. and I'll basically make him pick out a hat, which one he'll take. But
yeah,
very interesting. So, and notably, he covers one of his eyes. Is it the fake eye he covers when he's at the end of the scene?
I'm not sure which eye he covered actually.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, the problem is that because of like obviously he puts in a fake eye, but he just looks like he has two normal eyes most of the time. There's no obvious tell of which one's the fake one.
There's a symbolism either way, right? Is okay if he's covering the real eye, he's kind of choosing to be blind. Well,
either he's choosing to be blind, or he thinks that his lost eye gives him like some sort of connection to something. Like, you know, it's like his trauma is what connects him to the victims, or you know, like it's some mystical reason.
Yeah.
And if he's covering the fake eye, then
that's actually arguably maybe more interesting because it doesn't need covering, right? Because he's already not seeing out of it, so it's a conscious choice then to cover that up. It's almost a shame. Yeah, like, you know, you're covering out a shame. You don't want people to see it.
Yeah, if the spirits are coming to tell him who to get to next, he doesn't want the spirits to see his eye. Yeah, it works either way, I suppose. So, but he has a track coach, and then the next scene is in the police station. And my note for this is just TGIF, and then also fascism. So.
and also something you obviously didn't write down is I'm pretty okay. So anyone who watched any of our E3 coverage and saw the Bethesda conference will know that there was a guy in the crowd kept going yeah, and we were like, hey, that's got to be a paid actor.
Oh sure, but you found him? You think we found him?
He was in the scene. I could hear him.
Yeah, so it's Friday and they've got like a staff meeting, and the captain has got a ukulele around his back.
Yeah, it's a ukulele.
And they're all really happy, and he gives this speech about, you know, being successful cops and standing up for each other. And everyone's like so super excited and cheering and happy. And Martin the entire time is just kind of like...
just sat like, what the hell is going on?
And this goes back to what I was saying earlier, where I was noticing after that speech from Vigo,
so detached and alone.
Yeah, like everyone else is, and it's kind of accentuating it to this extreme where they're being ridiculous. But this idea that he sits there and he stands out compared, you know, this is his Dougie moment, if you want to call it that. I mean, it feels very Dougie to me in a lot of ways. Of course, it was the opposite in Twin Peaks, though, where Dougie was the over the top wacky one, and everyone else was like, Dougie's weird.
What's going on here?
It's that no one actually reacted that way because it's, you know, Lynch. But so and then
I feel like that applies here as well.
Yeah, but then he, so the captain then like does a little song, but then he gets them to, or I don't know if he does a song last, or he does the thing first.
The song's last.
The song's last.
The song is he plays like, you know, 30 seconds and then just goes Jesus.
That's right.
Yeah, whatever.
But he does like, give me an F, because I was genuinely, the first, you know, when I watched this, I was like, oh, what's this spelling out? Because he's like, give me an F, give me an A, give me a C, and then I thought, is the next letter T? He's like, give me, you know, facts, you know, because the cops are like, no, the facts, the truth, you know, like, where's this going? And then instead of like another letter, he just goes, give me an ism, and I'm like, wait, what? And then everyone in the room starts chanting fascism, and they don't quite do the Nazi salute, but they're putting their arm, you know, their fists out, kind of in that way.
It's more fist pumping though.
It's more fist pumping, but they're all doing it with the same hand, and I couldn't help but like see the almost visual of them actually doing the salute, and like Martin's just sitting there looking around, and he doesn't even crack a smile. He doesn't react. He just kind of like.
This is a perfect role for Miles Teller.
If he was standing outside right now, he'd have spat at the end of the scene.
Yeah,
because he spits a lot. That's his like the main character trait. So no, very, very, very weird, quirky, and this is a very David Lynch. This feels like if we go back to that Twin Peaks season 3, this feels like a sort of scene that you might have expected in that office building, right, with the office workers. It's exactly the sort of thing that wouldn't have surprised me in that part of the show.
I was so into the scene in a way that I feel like I shouldn't be.
I don't even know.
I don't know what the appeal is, but just I was transfixed.
And then that kind of goes in with a lot of Lynch's quirkiness, though, right? And it's kind of, you know,
It does.
Refn's pulling off, and not every scene's like this, but Refn's got a lot of Lynchy scenes in this show.
When he goes for it, he commits, and he's pulling it off.
And obviously, I think there's some more surface level things we can mention, like, okay, is this saying that, you know, police is like just only a couple of steps away from fascism? You know, the way that the cops work in this station, in LA, in the world, whatever.
Kind of like their dictator.
Yeah. You know, so I mean, there's some more obvious things to read into there, but it was certainly Martin's sort of reaction and detachment from it. And I think also the idea that these cops, these idiots, are never really going to affect real change, and if he wants to actually change and help things, he has to do it outside this system. Like Batman.
I thought we weren't going the Batman route.
It was just
you couldn't hold off for 5 minutes.
It's because it was very what I just said there was very similar to like the John Blake speech.
No, I know.
At the end of the Rises,
just no need. No need at all.
I'm just pushing things on my desk a little bit because Firefly's about to hit them off. So this is he gets to the message that, you know, some dude's out down at the reception to see him, and it's Vigo, and he wants to go on a drive. He just says, "You get time for."
This is where the ducks come.
This is where the ducks come in. He's like, "You got time for a drive?" He's like, "Yeah." And ultimately, I'll just skip to what the actual drive is. It's just them going to kill this target that he was given by Diana, which wonderfully with a golf club. Willie's playing golf. I love the simplicity. If I'm just grabbing a club out of his bag of golf, Will the guy's like, you know, practicing his driving. You know, he's
which comes up whack in the back of the head. Which,
for the record, he's practicing his driving. He's living on a hill and he's hitting it off the hill, right? Which would be fine if he was on like the beachfront or something. It was just hitting into the water. But I could see like houses and shit like like, you know, it was like buildings. And
I think that's just the point, that the lack of caring from the rich.
I'm not saying it's a mistake. I'm not saying there's not something to read into it. I'm pointing out the absurdity of it.
I mean, I would say it's probably still one of the least absurd things in this entire episode. So, I mean, you know, it didn't really stand out that much to me.
Look, I'm pointing out, right? But yeah, so basically Martin, to cover for the cop who's at the reception's like, oh yeah, there's a dead duck case. There's ducks in a pond. And he's walking out, because there's a weird scene where he goes back in to get his jacket, and like two of the idiot cops are like, oh, we're going to play a prank on the captain. He's interviewing this cop for this position today, but they're going to just have this mannequin sitting in there instead, and they think it's hilarious. And probably the best line delivery that what's his face Teller's ever given in his career is when he just says here, "That's funny," and then leaves. That line delivery was great.
I'm telling you, this is the role he was born for.
It was not that stupid Whiplash. It was this movie. It was this show.
And I love Whiplash. I love Whiplash, but the fact that he doesn't have to emote at all, and you just want to punch him in the face.
Yeah, Whiplash is all about J.K. Simmons. It's all about J.K. Simmons.
Oh yeah.
So, all right. So, so that was the same with Vigo's mum and the horse, and we get kind of a nice little montage here. I thought the music was very sweet. We see him getting treatment. Diana goes to be with him while he's getting treatment. Yeah. Which was very sweet. The music was very serene.
Actually, I think this was the choral piece that came in here.
Yeah. Because the last part of it is when it transitions to the crime scene at the kitchen.
Which is what I wanted to mention is that choral piece was actually a recurring theme in the Mexico episode. It was the daughter's theme. I can't remember her name. You know, the adoptive daughter.
The adoptive daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of her theme. Thank you. That was kind of her theme in that episode. So I thought it was a really interesting use here, because, you know, that was the.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. She is also a
powerful woman.
But this is the thing. She's also been a vigilante, like,
yes,
in Mexico. So, you know, the other correlations to take there. And then I just wrote down my final note for that section was stabbed, because, you know, Janie calls him. And he's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "I just got home from school, you know, do my homework. I need an adjective." Well, it was first she says, "You know, where are you?" He's like, "I'm in a freezer." Why? I'll explain it later. It's okay. I need an adjective, and he just looks down at the dead body in the corner and goes, "Stabbed."
She's like, oh, I like that stab.
Also, what homework is a high school senior doing where she just needs a random adjective?
It's called Mad Libs.
Which, hell, even her dad, in a minute, in the next scene, when she's like, I've got homework to do, and he's like, you're a senior who's already getting accepted to colleges. I call bullshit. What do you need to do homework for now?
And quite prestigious colleges at that.
Yeah. But I like this scene. And again, it was kind of showing how separate in the world is, how cold he is. He's literally in a freezer as she's lying next to a window, like covered in the sunlight. Like, it's very, contrasting.
In your face. Yeah.
Between the two positions. And we transition to her, where she goes to see her dad, and she's got her acceptance letter, and he's all excited. And we have this long dialogue scene where she's sitting there, and it's like, yeah, I'm waiting on 2 more. I've got like 7 letters or whatever so far.
They're all big ones. Like this one, I came in, I think, was it Harvard? This one?
Yeah, something like that.
It was one of the big ones.
Yeah, and she, she's like, I'm not to say what I'm doing yet. I don't know if I want to go, so don't pressure me. And he's like, do you talk to Martin about these things? And she's like, we don't really talk about that stuff. He's like, I don't imagine you two do much talking. Everything a father wants to say to his teenage daughter. So
yeah,
and she kind of goes, oh, Dad. I was like, I'm a father. I'm here for that. But no, you're not. No father would ever want to say that. No father wants to joke about his daughter having sex. That's the last topic you want to bring up.
Yeah.
Oh, but anyway, so he makes her this offer. He's like, you know what? You'd be wasted in college. Like you walked the red carpet at 14. You did this. You had a piece in the New York Times or whatever it was when you were 15. Like, just go straight to work. Work with me. Like not as my employee, but as a partner. And
I got millions. You can do whatever the hell you want.
It was hundreds of. He actually specified, I have hundreds of millions to play with. Was what he said.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, and part of this is like a power play. It's like to make her closer to him than Martin, like to give her this career path that might lead her away from him.
But it's also a weird thing where it keeps her close to him, because she's not going away.
It's equally. I mean, maybe not equally, but I think it's first of all to keep her close to him, but it also has this effect of this might also kind of like put her in a different world from Martin, and they'll realize they're more different than they can kind of hold on to because he's a cop / vigilante, and she's got this big job. I don't even know what his company is. Some sort of art thing.
I don't think it's actually told us, and I think that is probably intentional.
Yeah, probably. So I think that's pretty much the scene. But they do kind of embrace at the end of it. She doesn't make a choice, but he does bring up her mother and that she shouldn't feel any kind of guilt or no regrets over what she's doing, of because of that. So anyway, I'm just replying to a message here. This is so unprofessional, but it's important, all right?
Is it really?
It is. It's very. Someone asked for a Buffy reference. I need to give them a Buffy reference.
Is that genuinely what you're doing?
No, it's not. That was my fun jokey answer for the audience who like my Buffy references.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't put it past you.
I'm texting a message, unlike any character on the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because there was no texting yet.
If you want to see those characters text, go check out the comic book.
Yeah, I mean, there was texting in the world by the end of the show, but I think it was at that weird stage where they hadn't thought of putting text into like shows and movies yet, or they didn't have characters do it and things. It wasn't really until smartphones, I think, where they started really heavily doing that.
Yeah, I think also it's still a relatively new concept. These weren't exactly rich kids. Well, I mean, Buffy was a bit more, but they weren't buying all these extravagant things anyway.
I remember people having phones and like crappy old Nokia things, but like texting, like like in 2000. And Buffy was like 2003. And it's not like I went to a school with rich kids.
No, that's fair.
So, but hey, whatevs. Anyway, so yeah, next scene. Martin gets a job from a henchman dude. Celestino is his name. Well, I should probably learn his name by now. Obviously from Damien, and he actually ends up showing up at the ice rink to come in and ask about the job. And there's some symbolism going on here as well. They've got Damien's daughters on the ice rink, just doing some figure skating, skating around, practicing and whatnot. And she falls down at one point, and Celestino's like, should we go help her? And David's like, nah,
she'll figure it out.
Yeah, and it plays into some of the different things we've been seeing, like the idea of building strength, the idea of building independence, that kind of thing.
It's one of the weird cases of him treating the women as equal, at least in this case, because he wouldn't help any of his men up.
No, we know he does run girls though, so he's hardly a
no. I think that's why it's intentional here, where it's personal to him. So it's a separate rule. In this case.
Yeah, maybe his tether is his daughter, which would make some sense.
Yeah.
But just this idea of not going over and helping her, so and maybe it's a nice contrast as well of just seeing Janie with her father and just how different this is. In a lot of ways. How they're both very powerful men, although him illegally, but they're both very powerful in different ways.
Yeah, and complete opposites, because Janie's is very over supportive.
Oh sure, yeah.
Whereas this is the complete opposite of utter independence.
No, she again this idea of power, like he wants her to be powerful, so he's making sure she gets strength by having to get up herself, by not having that hand hold her up.
Yeah, he won't be a crutch to help her up.
Yeah, but Martin comes in, sits down next to them, and we have this wonderfully long conversation, probably the most dialogue Martin's had all episode, where he's like, so because you got a photo of the guy who's meant to kill, and it's this Korean guy, and he's like, so what did the Korean guy do? He's like, lots of bad stuff.
I think it's no. We've been down this path already with with Martin questioning.
And then he's like, "What stuff? Really bad stuff. like I don't have time to tell you all the bad stuff. We'd be here all day if I had to explain everything." And he's like, "I've got time." Well, I don't. And it kind of ends there. And I love there's a look that because Martin doesn't look at him throughout most of the scene. But at the end of the scene, like right at the end, after he said this, he does give him this glance before he turns and goes back out, which I thought was a really nice little beat. But he goes, and instead of killing him, he almost kills him at one point. He stops at the lights, and he's got the gun up to him, and he chooses not to.
Which is an interesting choice itself, because again, that's growth at this stage.
It's growth. Can I also point out the obvious symbolism of this literally being a crossroads?
Yeah.
They're at a junction. It's like it's a crossroads. So,
I think what's interesting to me here is this growth is probably earlier than I would have expected, given that we're only at episode 4, and where we were. What I thought was going to be his journey, a couple episodes ago, is quicker getting to this than I would have thought. So a bit more interesting.
Yeah, he gets him at gunpoint and says, what did you do to piss off Damien? I was supposed to kill you tonight. What did you do? And the guy's obviously scared, but he does eventually admit, I owed him money. And he's like, how much? He's like, 8,000. And you can just kind of see it in like Martin's face, like, that's it. I'm killing someone.
Come down to a bit of cash again.
For $8,000, that's what I'm killing someone for. And we don't necessarily see all the beats here that play out, but it becomes clear that he said, well, you're going to pay him. However you can pay him, however you can get that money, you're going to pay him. So we actually get to the Hideo Kojima cameo, where he goes to I was confused here because Kojima's Japanese, and the art in the room looked Japanese, so I wasn't entirely sure if like the main crime boss here was Korean or Japanese. I was a little bit murky on this, and this is mainly just because I know Kojima's Japanese as opposed to anything else. But he comes to this mob boss to essentially ask for money, and he gets the money, but through the shame and dishonor of what he's done to their people, their group, their gang, their whatever
organization.
Yeah, Hideo Kojima takes out a katana and slices off his pinky, which my favorite part of this is that it actually flies and hits the glass, which Martin is looking through. It's
great.
It's glorious. It is a fantastic moment. Absolutely fantastic.
I mean, Kojima with the sword. Show complete.
And talking about laughing again, you know, it cuts to the scene after this where he's giving the money to Damien, and they're all standing around in this car park, and Damien's like, "You should go to a hospital. That looks quite bad." And he's like, "Oh, I don't have my car here. Can someone give me a lift?" He's like, "No." And then the other guy's like, "But that does look quite bad, though. You should probably go." It's like, piss off. But he's like, "No, we're good. We're good." Yeah. And this is where Martin says, "Look, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not killing someone over some money." And Damien offers him a bunch of jobs, including running girls, running drugs, like doing all these different things. And he's like, "No, I want the worst of the worst. Like, I want the worst guys that you need taken out, who need to be taken out." And it's also worth mentioning that
he's willing to do the killing, just with a bit more morality to it, or at least his own twisted sense of morality.
Oh, it's worth mentioning he does turn down payment, his cut of like getting this money back. And I think, again, given that money is one of the big themes of this show, and
it's the first time that we've seen him really decline to money.
Yeah, and it's this idea that power doesn't come from that. And, you know, because, again, where it runs, even in the scene with Janie and her father, he had to bring up his worth. He had to bring up money, as if that's how he calculates how important he is.
Yeah, and, you know, we talked before about, you know, how sparsely decorated his apartment was. You know, he doesn't spend money, seemingly, on anything much.
Stuffed tigers.
Not the damn flag again.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the dad. I was talking about the stuffed tigers from thingy. But no, Martin has the flag with the rubies and whatnot.
Yeah. It's a damn expensive flag.
You know, if you get a custom made map, it costs like thousands and thousands. That's what this flag was. It was like a 10 grand flag that he's just got on his wall. No. Are you back?
I didn't go anywhere.
Oh, you froze for a sec. At least you were sitting so still that I thought your internet cut out, and I was like, no.
Oh, okay. I did say something, so I assume that didn't come out.
It cut out for a second. Then that's fine. That's fine. Okay. Fine. Disaster averted. It's okay.
My internet has been a little bit spotty over the last couple of days, which is why the panic more than usual. So
he's given this pair, who are not local. They're in New Mexico. No, sorry, Albuquerque. It was Albuquerque. Which I basically know is Breaking Bad land at this point. But he is like, these two guys, and he's like, okay, what did they do? And like, oh, they're pornographers. They make rape films. And it's like, okay, this is kind of what he's looking for, this kind of thing. So we end the episode with him leaving, and he actually like turns down a thing with Vigo. Vigo phones him and is like, hey, have you got time today or whatever? And he's like, no, I'm going out of town for a few days. He was renting a car to go and do this.
Got his own thing to do.
Yeah. So I hope it'll be really interesting next episode. Presumably we're going to get this mission of like tracking down these two, and
I'm looking forward to the stalking. And,
does he like decide to like confirm it for himself? Like, is he willing to take Damien's word, or like, you know, what does he do with it?
What's more interesting, if he does his own investigation and it is exactly what Damien says, or if it's not. Because I think both are potentially interesting outcomes. Because if it is, then it's okay. It kind of justifies his own morality. He can go through with it. But if it's not, does he grapple with that a bit more?
This does feel like a turning point for the show. I would argue that this feels at the end of Act 1. That's this dramatic turning point for his character.
Yeah, I agree. Which is why I say I'm a little bit shocked at how much growth he's had, considering it's kind of still just Act 1.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, what else have we got in store for him over the next 6 episodes? So it's very good. I want to note down as well, my last note for this was just the word pinky. I was feeling confident about everything after that, so I just wrote down pinky for the pinky scene.
It's a great scene,
as it is. So no, it's interesting. I'm a little bit annoyed because I do remember having like an analytical thought during one scene as I was going through it again, because it had been a while and I wanted to review it, but I
didn't jot it down, and
I didn't jot it down. I thought, no, I'll remember that. I didn't remember it. I'm annoyed at myself now. So that's a bummer.
That's because you thought you'll remember it.
Exactly. That's exactly why it is. But hey, that's episode 4 of Dark. Sorry, not Dark. That's the other thing we're reviewing right now. That we've been doing a lot of, so it's on the brain. But that is episode 4 of Too Old to Die Young. And we will be back with episode 5 quicker than it took to get episode 4. We're planning on recording that on Sunday, so hopefully that means you'll have it on Monday, Tuesday, the next one. So
yeah,
there you go. So let us know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show and the channel and everything we do here, you can head over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv and you can support us for as little as $1 per month. You get some stuff early, you get some exclusives, worth having a look. It also has a handy list. You don't have to be a patron to see this, but it has a handy list of all the different audio feeds, where all the different TV show and movie reviews go, and everything else that we do. So go and have a look at that. Also rate us on your podcast app. Give us a 5-star or whatever. Helps other people find us on that app. But that is us. And I mentioned Dark. That's what we're reviewing from Netflix right now. We also have Handmaid's Tale weekly, Big Little Lies weekly. I'm doing Legion on my own weekly. There's a lot of TV on right now that we're covering, and just as we finish, Dark actually is right about the time Stranger Things will be starting up, which Tool Today will probably overlap with that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if this is going up Monday, Tuesday, I think Stranger Things starts Thursday, so we'll probably get that up late Thursday, early Friday.
Yep, that's the plan. So so thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. And as always, if you're enjoying our discussions of these, they're not entirely dissimilar of our very lengthy and, dare I say, good Twin Peaks discussions that we did a couple of years ago for every single episode of that. So check out that. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?